Okay. Good afternoon, good evening. Good evening to those who are now joining on this special occasion here this evening. Good evening, good evening, good evening to those who would be joining at this time. Please do share the live. Let everyone know that Dr. Gavin Matthews B is on the air. And up to today, I had a conversation with a colleague of mine, and he wants to know why the sudden BEY, Bay. So I let him know. I told him that is my title to the ownership in which on the land in which I'm on, and I will carry that title as a representation of me, an Aboriginal living soul. So that was the conversation today. And I would very much appreciate that those who want to find out more, I want you to call the number and let us chat in the 592-611-6575. So good evening to those who are now joining once again. Black love to you all. Black love is a brand that is being made by me, designed by me, patented by me to stand against racism, slavery, systematic discrimination, and oppression against the Aboriginal people. And I'm going to discuss that one moment about this Aboriginal because that is another issue. Aboriginal. And I don't have a problem explaining what it is. And so we can be able to understand how the system works to oppress us even more. And when we want to come out of the system, the identification of oneself is important. So we would be able to be free. And if we cannot identify ourselves and we wait for the system to identify ourselves, then we cannot. We want the system to identify us, then we cannot be free. There's no freedom in a proclaim identification that comes from a system that doesn't like us. So we have to issue that proclamation of self identification. So, good evening to you all. Good evening. Good evening once again to those who are now joining. Share the live, share the live, share the live. So, let me do further ado identify myself once again. This is Dr. Gavin Matthews Bey. Bey. That is my title. It means that I'm a Moorish American and I hold that title with all respect and as an identification of this living soul that is sitting here before you. And when I say a Moorish American, that's where I live. This is the continent of South America. That's where I live. Guyana is just a cooperation. Guyana is just a cooperative entity on the land in which belongs to my foreparents. But we're going to get into that at a different portion of time. But I want you to be able to understand where I'm going and what I'm getting at. I want you to take out your pens and pencils and papers because tonight is an educative night. Tonight is a night where we will sit down and digest and discuss the etymology of certain words. One of them is denotation, and the other one is connotation. And we're going to discuss those words because we're going to help you to understand why they use the democratic system to connotate upon our, how should I put it, upon our cerebral capacity, so we can comprehend what they want us to comprehend. And to those who are looking, I want to remind you, if you're calling in, I want you to desist of using the word black. Please do not identify yourself as a black man or a black woman. Please do not do so. It's a it's it's an adjective meaning from a system that tends to treat you like stocks. So please do not identify yourself as black. I very much appreciate that when you are calling in. So so we're going to start. Before we go to connotation and denotation, let me say good night to those who are now looking from Guyana to the Caribbean, and I mean the Caribbean Isles, the the West Indian Isles, the British Virgin. All these places are in what we call Central America, but they kind of twist it up. You understand? So good night to those who are looking from those part of the Central America and the West Indies and the British Virgin Isles and the US Virgin. Good night to those who are looking from Mexico, from places like the United States, and to those who are looking from uh, Morocco, which sits on America, on the continent of North America. So good night to those who are looking, and my Aboriginal brothers and sisters who are looking from that particular section of that continent. Good night to those who are looking from Canada, to those who are looking from the European Union, the the United Kingdom, to those who are looking from China, Beijing, Hong Kong, Japan, the Korean Peninsula, from India or Hindustan, to those who are looking from Pakistan and Uzbekistan and Tajikistan, places like Australia, that island continent of Australia, uh, to those who are looking from the New Zealand Isles, the Tonga Isles, places as far as the African continent, and those island republics that surround the African continent, as far as where Cote d'Ivoire, and Sierra Leone, places like Sudan, North and South Sudan, to those who are looking from the continent of South America, in those places that they live, or those how should I put it over? Those corporate entities of places like Peru and Argentina, Colombia, Venezuela, Brazil, Suriname, French and Dutch Guiana, the Netherlands, Curacao, Trinidad and Tobago, and the island continent of Barbados. A very pleasant good night to you, to those who are joining. Welcome to the Gavin Matthews-Bey show, GMBS show. And I hope that I would bring to you this educative process tonight, so I can able to enlighten you and open your mind, that third eye, help you to be awake. So thank you very much to those who are now joining. So let me do start. And I want to start, before I go into denotation and connotation, I want to start at Aboriginal. What is Aboriginal? AB means abstract from the father. Original, we are the original people. Anybody else other than us came and meet us. They had an entry date. We don't. Let me be point blank. This is not a place where this show is not a place where it's a place we got monkey motions going on. This is point blank, and I'm very straight. So if you're here to learn something, because as I speak to you, I also learn. My mind is open to what I'm teaching you or to what I'm informing you about because I have to read it before I come here. And what I'm talking about is what I have been enlightened by reading and comprehension of what I'm reading and standing over the etymology of the words that I'm it's digest into my soul, so it makes me more healthier. So I want you to experience the same thing. So AB original, Aboriginal represents the native people of the Americas. And let me show you how distinctful it is. Those who have, when they say, "Oh, what is your blood type?" And a lot of people say, "Oh, my blood type is O. I'm O positive or O negative." That means you are the original. And most people who have O positive blood looks like me, majority. When they say blood group you be, and most people say I'm AB. Why most of us, some of us are AB and some of us are O? It is because they didn't know which group to put you in. Remember now, you are part of a cooperative system. So to identify you, they have to do it via your blood group. But here, what's the problem? Those who have AB and O positive or O negative or AB negative or AB positive, it is because it is hard for them to switch switch up your DNA, and it's hard for them to, how should I put it over, separate you from your brothers and sisters because that is your identification. It's not an ID card that belongs to the corporation. It is who you are, the living soul. So here, what's the problem? A lot of us who has O positive or AB or O negative, we now have strong antibodies. How should I put it over? Okay, like the covert, the virus that they're talking about that's ramping through the world and killing people, you know, got people lying down in body bags and raising up to pull body bag over the head because they gotta present themselves as dead on the information channel. It's a big laugh, you know. Not like in Guyana when they have the the ambulances driving up and down every day. When you look inside, you have the point to look inside, they ain't got nobody. They're just driving up and down. They're getting paid to just drive up and down every day without a soul inside. And they suddenly say 900 people. All them people that die, all them people that died, that they say claim that died, really, the list of registrars supposed to be actually reduced a lot. Believe you me, the list of registrars. But we can get back to that. So if you check it, we now become a study in the medical industry. Our blood type, our bodies, our immune system create antibodies against viruses. I'm going to show you a simple example to those who are looking. You know, you catch a common cold years ago, and your mother, your aunt, or your grandmother will say, "Well, give you a week, it can go away." Because within that process of 7 days, your body creates antibodies to fight against that cold virus that is being created by mucus that lives in your system. In another way, to those who know about snakes, you know, after a while, snakes shed their skin. and a new skin is born. So they come out of that shell and they in a new look. Same thing with the human being, especially those who are aboriginals like us. We didn't have to go to the hospital or to the pharmacist to get an aspirin or a cold medicine to get rid of a cold. We just had to go through the process because our bodies created the antibodies to fight against these things. If you understand what I mean, or if you stand over the information that I'm now giving you or comprehend. So when we look at Aboriginal, it is the same identification we walk around here with. Who am I? I'm Aboriginal. How do you know that? Well, my blood type is O. Tells me that I'm original, either O positive or O negative. Or I'm AB. That's my blood type. And I know a lot of people are AB, and they're very rare. Some of them, but they're abstracts. They are part of that. We are living in a world that are tend that no that is sorry on a daily basis taking away our biological rights, taking away our ancestral rights in order to lay claim to the lands that we live on or laying claims to us as living souls and declare us subhumans. That's the world we're living in. That is the democratic system. That is the democracy that we so embrace. That is what it's part of. So I am happy to know that I can come on this medium and sit and discuss and share these information with you or to inform you about the truth and nothing else but the truth because we need to be awakened. So we're going to talk about denotation. What is denotation? Denotation is a designator or a marker. What is a designation or what is a marker? What is a designator? I'm going to use this phone. This phone is a smartphone. It is designed, its designator is to make calls, have the access to the internet, and have communicative activities from one place to the next. Instead of traveling to that person to carry out a message, you pick up the phone, the cell phone, and call. The calling is what it is designed to do, to make calls. That is the designator. So this is what the democratic system does now. Remember, this is a this I'm talking about the designator, what is designed to do. So I'm going to tell you now about the connotation of this phone. So this is what the system does now. The system realizes that you have a smartphone and you're using it for internet purposes and you're using it for calls. So they're going to use a connotation now with the smartphone to con you. Here, what they're going to do now, they're going to go into the smartphone by tapping it and listen to your conversations. That is the connotation. They're going to turn on your cameras without your permission and have a view of your surroundings and in your home, and you don't know. They're going to turn on your speaker and they're going to listen to the conversations in your home or among yourselves, and you don't know. You don't have a clue because the people who created the phone give you the denotation of the phone, what it is created to do. But those beyond the denotation wants to apply a connotation, and the application, the application. Hold on, I think I got somebody to. Yeah, yeah. The application in what we're looking for is not the same thing because silently someone is behind a computer and they're listening to you. They're looking at you without your permission. And how are they doing that? Do we know? We're going to look at the democratic system that we're living by. They come to you and they say to you, well, look, you want a piece of land, you have to apply for it. And when you apply for it, they issue you a transport. The denotation of the transport is to allow you to understand you're paying for a piece of land to erect a building. But when you study the meaning and the word transport, it doesn't fit what it's created to do. When you study the meaning of the word transport and that piece of paper to say that you own that piece of land, it doesn't coincide. It can't fit. The meaning is impossible to transport from one place to the next, carry goods and service on a transportation to deliver to some other persons at the other end of town. So why does this piece of land need a transport? What is the meaning of a transport? It means that you can be transported off that piece of land at any particular time. You know why? Because the system cannot own the land. They came here and meet people, so they cannot own it. So this is the process of taking the lands that belongs to the indigenous and trying to distribute it without the permission. The thing is that the democracy or the democratic system is so created in such a way that it is to con you. It is always conning you. It is taking away your rights to denote. They make it sound so flourishing, so nice. And let me show you a simple example. We take breeding hoop that the de facto administration is now making claim to give out to a group of people to create an oil to shore or gas to shore base in breeding hoop without even seeking the right position and investment on that piece of property. They tell themselves that they're executive. They have a right to use up any land as possible. They have a right to share it out illegally. Anything that they're doing right now becomes illegal because you need to understand that they use a process of connotation in order to trick you. And one of the connotations they say, well, I am president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Yes, he is. To that corporation, not to the land in which that corporation is situated on. You're the CEO. Yes, no problem. You're the CEO to your corporation, not to the land, not to the Aboriginal people. That is why when we find ourselves in a bracket, like for instance, I'm going to use a quote. Oh, the the Chief Justice acting used this. She said, "What is good for the ganger is good for the geese or the goose." That's the form of connotation to tell you, well, look, if a declaration has been given by a majority and you want to and you want to fight your way through that declaration not to accept it, well, then you have to do it via way of an elections petition. And if the elections petition doesn't really make sense, she said, well, this is the kind of life you all were living all the time. Suddenly you don't like it because it seems different. So she says now, what is good for the ganger is good for the geese. Hard for you to understand, but that's how she ruled. And we do nothing about it, so that means we accept it. We never protested. We never try to make sure that political leaders are answerable for the decisions that they make. Nothing. So this becomes yes. Let me show. Let me use another example. Um, they're trying the politicians in courts, and they're trying to make up charges that doesn't make sense. So they take you before the courts. They use the police to hold on you, put you on bail, take you before the court. The court now puts you on court bail. In that process, they're trying to weaken you financially. So when you stand up in court, because you got a whole lot of stuff to do at the end of the day, when you stand in court now, when that case was put off for another date, it creates another payment system for your legal representative. So in this process, let's say the case take 2 years, 3 years. In this process, you're weakened financially against a system that has no evidence to charge you. And sometimes you spend 2, 3 years running behind the same case, and at the end of the day, you hear there's no statement of evidence. And you're like, what? I spent all that time running behind the court, paying lawyer, paying this, paying that, and you have no statement of evidence? It's the way they use the system. Democracy at work. This is what they do to shrink you. This is what they do to weaken you. This is a denotation process. Remember, the chair is used to you to sit on, right? That is the chair is used for you to sit on, which is a denotation process. But their connotation process is to tell you that you have to pay to sit on the chair. You get my point? The chair is designed for you to just either unfold it or pull it out from the table and sit on it. The system that looks at that chair or governs that chair tells you no, you have to pay to sit on it. That means you have to stand all the time. And when you're tired and weak, no, you got to push your hand in your pocket to sit on the chair. That is the connotation process because they know that sometime or the other your legs are going to be weakened. So you got to sit down. And before you sit down, you got to pay. So eventually it becomes a norm to us. Well, boy, to sit in the chair, you got to pay. Yeah, push your hand in your pocket and pay, you can sit down. If you ain't got money, you ain't got bargain. That's a connotation process. So now they're trying to tell you now you got to go work for money. That fiat dollar that doesn't make any sense. That dollar that has no worth. Suddenly you got to go and work 8 hours a day just to earn money so you can sit down. But you're not rebelling to say that you're designed to sit in the earth in which you were born on. Because remember, your 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 rights are the rights to life, liberty, and property. What is property? You're born on the earth, there's a chair, there's a rock for you to sit on, you sit because you're free. But since when you gotta pay to sit? They didn't bring it. They came and meet it. They went into the forest, cut down the logs that doesn't belong to them, it belongs to us. And made these chairs and say to us, well, look, you want to sit down, you got to pay for sit down. And like, you're working hard to go and pay to sit. But you didn't know or you don't know that you're so free that you could afford, that you can sit without them telling you that you have to pay to sit. And then they're going to tell you that there are laws and guidelines. And if you don't pay to sit, you can be jailed. And you got afraid. And they come and collect you against your own rights, which they have no authority to, and take you before a court system and try you just because you wanted to sit. And you're being found guilty of wanting to be free. You become incarcerated. Why? Because you allow them to. Why would Brother Matthews-Bey says we allow them to? It is because you fail to educate yourself about the English law system that we are governed by. You fail to educate yourself upon the words that you use, that we constantly say, that the system now constantly say, anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. Anything. And they use our own, they don't only use our words, they use our actions. You wanted to sit down. In the capitalist system or in the commercial system, you got to pay to sit. But you don't got money, so you sit down, and the police suddenly turn up and you get up and run. Why are you running and you're free? What is the sense you're running for? The police now runs behind you, apprehends you, and calls you a criminal. Committed a crime because you didn't pay before you sit, and say now that you're a criminal and I can put you behind bars. You take a good look at it. Let me show you another instance. You're hungry, you go around the corner, you see somebody selling some hot dog, something like that, and you stand up at a position where you can steal one or you can take one without their approval. Fine. You take one, you're caught for stealing. You tried, you get put before the court, you go to jail. Here is the other way around now. The person take the same hot dog at the end of the day after realizing it didn't sell and throws it away into the garbage bin. You, the same person, gone and take it out of the garbage bin and eat. Same hot dog, but it's just that the person realized they ain't selling it, and before before the end of the day, well, it got thrown away. Throws away the hot dog. You go and pick up the same hot dog, ain't nothing wrong with it. Where's the crime? You get my point? Where is the crime? Let's use another example. Remember the Henry boys in Barbies? They say the people they went and thief coconut. Can you imagine that? You went and thief coconut. Does the tree belongs to you? No, it belongs to the earth. So how can you steal from the earth? It was designed to give you bread. It was designed to give you comfort. It was designed to give you water. So how can you steal from something that is your part of your inalienable rights? Y'all get my point now? You get where I'm coming from? It is part of your inalienable rights to live off the earth, and suddenly you're stealing from something you were born into to be free. Sometimes you wonder if you mad or the system. Is who more mad? Is either the system, is either I mad or the system more crazy? How can you climb up a coconut tree and steal? All right, here is the problem now. Let us say you're waiting the coconut, it get ripe, it get dry, suddenly it drop to the ground. Is that stealing? It is ready to eat. How can you steal? Does it make sense? Let me show you another example. You got the farmers and you got you who have your kitchen garden. You got your farmers who are farming, maybe to carry their produce to market to be sold. At the end of the day, some of their produce hasn't sold, but because of the sun beating it, it started to wither up. What happens? It's thrown away because nobody's going to buy it. Somebody goes to pick it up, that's not stealing. But the same wither up thing sit down on your stand, somebody pass and pick it up, that becomes stealing. But when you say stealing, it comes from the earth. It doesn't belong to you, it belongs to everybody. So the system that we live in have us so twisted and corrupt that they presented now a connotation to us. Hear what they're telling us now. This is what they're doing to us. Listen to the teachings. They have us in school and they're teaching us things that they would like us to live upon when we become an adult. Like for instance, they're going to tell you, oh, well, you can study carpentry, you can study mason, and then they give you designs that are so lofty and nice. And when we grow big, we wanted to buy a house, or we want to build our house, and we concrete the whole yard and forget we got to eat off the ground. That's one of the connotations. Number two, the water that coming from the earth that is so free. We ain't got to pay for that. All we got to do is dig for it and set up a well system that we can have our own water. Now they're drawing it from the earth that is free. Cap it, put it in a nice drum or in a nice well and distribute it and tells us that we have to pay. You understand the connotation? It's a command system. We gotta pay. All right, let's look at the next thing. Electricity. Here it is. The fuel that they're getting coming from the earth, free, which is the the what you call it again? The fossil fuel or the oil, the windmills that creates the current are getting it from the wind system that is on the earth, which is free. They ain't gonna pay the wind system to create such a strong wind so the mills can spin and create electricity. The water that comes from the hydro plant system, in that waterfall, they can use the force to create energy so we can have electricity free. They cap in all of that, sell it to us. Connotation. Here is the biggest laugh. Money. They create a dollar. Hold on. Wait. Let me see if I got any in my pocket here. They create this of the elements of the earth. They create this. They give it ink. They give it writing. And they say it's a legal tender note. This has no worth until you work for it. That's the problem with it now. It has no worth until you work for it. And when I say until you work for it, until you work for it, then you can't see the worth in this if you don't work for it. So why must you work for it? Because they say that you have to pay the system from which you live in. You got to pay taxes. You got to use this for transportation. You got to use this for eat. But here was the problem. I want to see if you're making sense or not. Let us say they have a natural disaster today. All the all the lands of gardening or vegetation has been flooded out. The water system is contaminated. You can't get about to have fresh vegetables and fruits and all these things to eat to survive. And you got a billion of this. Can you put it into the pot and cook it? Y'all get my point? Now we can go back down to the system now. The system is a political system that is based upon democracy. And when you study and you go to school and they tell you all sorts of things, they highlight it, they fascinate your mind about democracy. And then you ask yourself, oh, yes, I kind of like this word because they're presenting it to you in the best form. But when you study the effects of democracy, then you realize it's not a democracy, it's an autocracy or a dictatorship. But it's the newest form of dictatorship. It's the newest form of authoritarian rule where it depends upon you to identify yourself so they can oppress you. They come to you and they tell you, oh, black is a nice word, it represents you. They teach you it in school. But when you study it and you realize it cannot represent you because it's an adjective, it's a definition of a color. But we don't want to be taught that. We grew up from small people saying, "Oh, little black boy, how you do?" That was my name. I was a big man. And people used to call me, "Yeah, black boy, how things?" You could imagine. They bring you, remember the denotation of the word black is to describe, it's a description of a color. The connotation of the word black is for them to con you to tell you, well, look, this represents you. It doesn't represent a color because you're black. You turn around, you can't get nothing. They're trying to tell you, well, they ain't got nothing else to represent you. You can't see it. And they're hiding the word Aboriginal. It's in your DNA. It runs through your veins. But we forget those things because we're not enlightened. The more they teach us the connotation of our own words, of our lives past, our own ancestral beliefs, it is the better for them. Is the more deeper our sleep is. I know. I know sometimes it's hard for people to conceptualize what is being given to us. Like for instance, and I want to get back to the reading hoop thing. All that land on the frontier of reading hoop going to not only flowing through the Demerara River, but also to the ocean. All that land now is being confiscated without the authority, the proper authority of the Aboriginals, the people who own it, under a system that takes away our right from us because we allow it to. The first thing we say, oh, what are you gonna do, by? You gotta wait and see what they're doing. They like that because we now voluntarily give up everything from saying, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do, by? We can't do nothing. We gotta wait and see what's gonna happen. While we're waiting to see what's happening, they're taking it away because the democratic system that they are governing by is based upon what we say, how we interact with each other. Okay, good. I think I'm back on. I think I'm back on. Yeah, I'm back on. All right. So it looks like I'm back on. Yeah, yeah. Okay, good. I'm back on. Thank you very much for those who are to those who were waiting patiently to make sure that I come back on. Please do share the live. Share the live as you come in. Please share the live because I want persons to know that I am back on air to continue discussing what we were talking about. All right? Share the live. Good. Well, it's always this way. I I don't really mind, but these are things that will happen from time to time, and we gotta be prepared for it. Hold on. I think. Okay. Thank you very much calling the GMSB show. Good night to you, sir. I miss. Yes, I'm on the live. Okay, no problem. Right. So as we were discussing, what you find that this de facto administration is applying what the American democracy system were applying for years, hundreds of years. They're applying it right now. What they're doing is that they're applying connotation to denotation to work around the system to take not only our lands away from us, our rights away from us, but to tell us that they are in authority by connotation. Show you a simple example. They are acting like if they have authority for everything, and there's nothing you can do about it. And to show us, the Aboriginal community, when there's nothing to do about it, they brought someone to entertain us. Can you imagine? What's the guy name? Not DeMarco. The guy that came and sing at the stadium, I think it was last week. 15,000 tickets were printed and all was sold out. Every one of them. People were kept out of the stadium, the tarmac which they held the show, from going in because they had too many people in there. That's power. To show how they can control the people by entertainment. Biden and go them protests. The weak, they can't think, they got a brain of their own, they can't think. Some of them, the so educated, they went to University of Ghana, still we could control them by entertainment. That means to say that they can't represent themselves. It's impossible for them to represent themselves. We have to put people to represent them. We can't put the black leaders because, as they will normally say, black leaders, but we can't put the Aboriginal leaders because they are just the same. Where is the evidence? Well, look what's going on. I bring a DJ or an entertainer wherever 15,000 plus people gonna see. 99.9% of them are Aboriginal. People that identify themselves as black people. 99.9% of them are Aboriginals. They're gone at the stadium and the tarmac to be entertained. You could imagine if a crowd like that come out to protest the cruelty of this de facto administration, they will have to step down within a day. They will have to demit the office. Believe you me. And here was the most destructive part of it. Each person paid $8,000 plus for a ticket. Do the calculation, and you can tell me that the Aboriginal community ain't got wealth? You can tell me that they ain't got wealth? Seriously? Look at what I'm talking about. Over 15,000 people came to that show. It was jam packed. 15,000 people because all tickets were sold out. Plus, people still on the streets viewing the carnival that's going on inside of there. You could imagine if that amount of people came out to protest the racism, the oppression, the enslavement of a people by this de facto administration. They want to sit down there laughing and gaffing and skinning the teeth at us. I'm serious. Take a good look at it. Do the calculations. 15,000
Okay. All right. Apparently, like I'm having some problems the with the distribution of the. I don't know if it's another EMP, it's another electric pulse that came up, but I'm trying to fix that problem. Whilst I okay, all right, okay, it looks like I'm back in. Hold on. Yes, yes, I'm back in. Let me end this part that I'm on.
Right. At least let me see what's going on. Oh, brother. All right. This is what is happening, right? Uh, I had two surges just now. I don't know how effective it may be on the system, but if I take another one, I don't think my system can take it, right? So please bear with me as I try to fix this for another couple of minutes. I have 13 minutes left back. Okay, let me help you to understand what I really do here. As of the beginning of this week on this program yesterday, as a matter of fact, let me let you know what I'm doing here. Uh, I'm taking the opportunity to inform not only the Aboriginal people, right? Hold on. I am on the show. Can I call you back? Okay? Yes. My position here is to help you to understand where we're at as a people and how the system does not work for us. It doesn't matter if we voted in the system or we voted for another government. Oh, okay. Or we voted for another government, or we want to be a part of this commercialized system that is so designed to not let us benefit from it. And let me help you to understand why we are not why the system is not designed for us to benefit from it. Before the word Guyana or British Guiana came into place, there were Aboriginals that were living on these lands. When the colonial system came into play, they came into play based upon investment, a commercial system, making deals and agreements and signing constitution and treaties, as a matter of fact. Treaties, not constitution, treaties. So when they came with their cooperation, they came with their subjects, they came with slaves and indentured laborers. When their time was up, because remember now they had an entry date, when their time was up, they left who they came with. So Guyana becomes an extension of the cooperation, which came under the Commonwealth, British colonial system. So it moved from British Guyana to Guyana. And the subjects thereof, those are the people that they came with, who they brought in as slaves or indentured laborers. So what the problem is right now, it is claiming ownership to the land that they have their cooperation with. So their constitution that the cooperation resides with, you talk about the constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, cooperative. cooperation is a de facto, it's null and void. It's the constitution that carries the law of the sea because remember now they crossed the sea to come here. So that is why you find now that these shows that I will carry on from time to time at night, it will be based upon this information, informing you, the Aboriginal people, my Aboriginal brothers and sisters, about your biological rights, the rights that they're now trying to take from you to give to somebody else. So they installed the same US system, installed a mediocre government to carry out their activities, their actions, or the British, because they can't do it by themselves. They installed somebody. So what you see the de facto administration is doing now is carrying out their connotation, trying to scrap or to erase the denotation. And how they are doing it, it is the exact way in which it's projected. So I think I'm experiencing another EMT again. So let me let you know that they will always try to erase the truth. They will always try to prevent the truth from going out. It's not about a democratic system anymore. Democracy doesn't work. Democracy is a failure. It cannot work here. The population of the people is too small for that to work here. Truth, peace, and righteousness is the only thing that can exist in this part of America that we live. And the truth has to prevail. The people has to be awoken. We're too much asleep. We cannot give rights to a people who has no interests of this. You look at it, see how the PVP is operating. They don't have no interest in Guyana. They have their interest is what they can get from Guyana and out of Guyana. And they're giving rights to a people who has no biological lineage to Guyana. So the only people you can put there to infiltrate Guyana is the people who has no lineage to the land that they call America. Who else you can put there to take away the land from the indigenous? Who else you going to put there to con the people? Who else? Look at it. Understand where we're coming from. They're working overtime, working hard to hide the truth from you. Do not let you involve in the process. Well, there is a process. There's a process of freedom. I took that process. I refuse to be a part of the cooperation. I refuse to accept the colonial master's name. I refuse to be a part of a system that takes away our rights as a people, take away our land. I refuse to be educated by the system that is hiding our story, our history. I am now a free man. I'm now a free living soul. soul. I'm not certified by a slave system anymore. I'm not certified by a democracy. I stand independent and I stand free and I own everything that I say because what I say becomes law. Not only in my house, but that's what I stand by. We as a people, as an Aboriginal people, need to stand, take that stand, fold that fist, and declare our sovereignty. I want to say thank you to those who have joined me for the particular period of time that I was on. And I know it was impossible because I was struck twice, but I'm able to not only make some choices, but I'm able to be strong in what I do. Join with me tomorrow night and we go deeper into discussions again to try to free the mind, free the people, and awaken those who are still asleep. This is Dr. B, Gavin Matthews-Bey. Thank you very much. Black love to you all. Oh, and I'm going to post online the t-shirts that I have now. So you can go to Facebook and see it, and you can still call me at the number 611-6575. Stay safe, be careful, sanitize yourself, wear a mask. Don't forget the little ones you take into public places. This is Dr. Gavin Matthews-Bey. Good night. Cheerios for now.